Is this working?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So how does the 25-year-old end up here on a balcony sitting in the middle of Tampa with me?
Um, honestly, don't even know. This crazy woman just came up to me and started talking to me, and no. So I met you the other day, I believe. And like talking to Lieutenant Dan.
Yeah, so we're going to go away from that topic for a minute just because it's so overdone.
Yeah,
And so I just want to hear about you.
of course.
Um, so tell me about how a 25-year-old navigates relationships here in Tampa with the best of the best girls around.
Well, that's a good question. How to navigate relationships in Tampa? First off, Tampa is a great city. I moved here about 6, 7 months ago, and it's the best move of my life. Um, there's one downfall though, and that would be dating. Dating in Tampa, channel side exclusively, downtown, sucks. It's absolutely horrible. Most girls just want to go to Boulogne or Soho, and like they don't. They're just so young too. Like yeah.
So when was your last relationship?
My last relationship was 3 months ago.
So I'll ask the same thing I asked Lieutenant Dan. How'd you mess that up?
She did not want kids,
Mm.
and I want kids, and that was the biggest. In her defense, she told me right away. She like not right away, but in the first week, and she's like, "I don't want kids." It got brought up, and she was so beautiful. Like I thought I could maybe change her mind, and unfortunately, I couldn't.
Do you think all guys think they can change a girl? Because girls typically will mold and morph into what you want them to be initially,
Yeah,
and that doesn't stick, obviously, because that's just not the way it is. But I think maybe both sexes do that
I was
just
gonna
to,
say both sexes
yeah,
for sure because maybe not change them, but somebody will have like a dream person, right? And that dream person is not going to exist. So when you meet somebody, you're like, oh, I have all these expectations, da 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 da. That's not always how the relationship goes. So I think that's why relationships fail too.
yeah. So do you think lots of guys just, well, girls too, everybody just really wants that honeymoon stage of the first 6 months, and then is it willing to move forward? Like in our day, we didn't have like swipe right, swipe. The next shiniest thing didn't just come along every second.
Yeah,
So you kind of had to stick with something. I mean, we wrote notes like, "Do you like me?" Like there had to be somebody that you were affiliated with or in class with or something. You just didn't have the next best thing. So like, I think somebody's always. I feel like the younger population is trying to generation, I should say, trying to look for the next best thing all the time to keep that freshness alive. When really the next depth of love is scientifically legit. Like it's naturally supposed to go the other direction.
um, I don't know how to answer that.
So like there's stages of love, you know.
There are. I'm thinking.
Um,
I think that every relationship has the honeymoon, and for me, like I'm super young, but I'm also mature a little bit. And I'm only mature in a relationship sense because I've gone through it with my ex. And going through what we went through matured me like fast.
how
So
long did you date her?
7 months. So which wasn't a lot. I'll admit it's not a lot, but when it's your first time actually like falling in love, you'll try to do like everything. Like there's arguments. And people don't understand that in a relationship, you need a lot of forgiveness and empathy and to not have expectations because you're going to be broke most of the time.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of compromise that some people aren't willing to bend. And I talk to a lot of young people around here, and there's girls that are like, I'm not going to go out with him if he's not going to be commitment from the start. And I know from the start, and I'm like, you don't. I used to believe that, oh, you can know who somebody is in a couple minutes,
Yeah.
and now I'm so far from that. I think it's there's so many other levels. So to knock somebody aside just because they don't want that commitment or don't want what you want from them without understanding who they really are as a person, I think that's a lot of what goes on here. Or there's that, or a lot of people say, money's the deciding factor. So if they can't take me out and then take me shopping after, forget it. Like there's
Yeah.
that element too. People aren't afraid to admit that. My generation, we would never say that out loud. Where these
Hmm.
girls are just like, yeah, like
It's just the generation we live in today. It's like so. I'm sure it's everywhere else too, but like maybe Miami. But it's just there's something about dating or trying to date. Let me rephrase that one more time. There's something about trying to find a wife in downtown Tampa. It's not gonna happen. It's so hard, and like they care about this and they care about that, or and I've asked girls a lot of questions like, hey, what do you do for work? Like you live at the condo I live at, or you live at the Heron. Oh, I'm an assistant manager. There is no way you are an assistant manager or like a some corp like office job. Okay, there's no way that you do this for work, and we all know what it is. It's OF. Okay, we understand, but you don't have to like sit there and like hide it like or they're like, oh, I just work a regular job, like, or they have sugar daddies, or there's some sort of like connecting factor to try to date that girl, like.
so do you think the sugar daddy's cool with just having the trophy on his arm, knowing she's probably just with him for that? Like everybody knows the terms and that's cool. Like I just can't imagine hanging out with somebody on a regular basis without having love for them.
So I've one of my friends, she has a couple sugar daddies, and she literally like doesn't sleep with him or anything. Like he literally, she'll just go out to lunch with him and she'll go shopping, and he buys her whatever, not whatever, but he buys her everything and pays for the lunch, and it's just for him, it's just being next to her, like, and obviously that's not all in all cases, like they want to sleep with them and stuff, but
So if you want to date that girl and she has that guy that does that for her, are you okay with that? Even though you would be the ultimate, boyfriend.
um no, I wouldn't be okay with that.
Yeah.
I don't expect her to like, if I meet her tonight, I don't expect her to like text somebody and be like, okay, I met my future husband, but I like if we're talking for like 2 3 months, like that's time to cut that off.
Yeah. I think a lot of young girls don't realize because they're young and are motivated by all these external things. Like you start to realize later it's really just about somebody touching your heart. Sounds so cheesy, I know.
Yeah.
But like I know it does. Me saying it out loud, I'm embarrassed to even like say it, but it's true. Like you just want the guy that's curious about you. You want the guy that pays attention to you. You want the guy that remembers 2 weeks ago that you did something, and 2 weeks later they're going to ask you about it. You want the guy that knows if your hair is tangled, he's going to buy you a brush. Like it's not necessarily about the value, and the people with money get that. Like they notice it after. So the young girls aren't there yet to really understand the value of somebody that truly loves you.
um yeah, I do believe that there are girls out there that will see you for you. See, I grew up like I was told to like love through everything. Like love conquers everything in a relationship, even in life. But like that's what I grew up being told. And it's just fallen off like in today's society. Like they're just like, if you can't give me that, if you can't give me that, if you don't have a boat, then like, you know what I'm saying? Like if they all care about like social media and pictures and like go to this nice restaurant, and I know a couple girls that are humble. They work, like my friend works at Bass Pro Shops. She sells boats. She doesn't go out and drink that much. Like she has a career. But she also doesn't live in downtown Tampa. So there's just something about Tampa dating that's hard.
Yeah. So I think the big thing that separates a guy from the other guys, so these girls can pretty much have what they want, is vulnerability because that's not the norm for the guys. That's going to set you apart.
Mm-hmm.
So I know me and you talked, and I said I was divorced, and you said you didn't agree with it, and I agree with you. I think people don't work through some things. I think we didn't have the tools or the ability to communicate with each other, like about our feelings. I think people tell like strangers their feelings. So like
Yeah.
me and you could sit here and shoot the shit about how we feel, but telling that person you really care about could be different. Or you've established these roles in the relationship, so the guy doesn't want to be weak. Like I hear that a lot. Like, well, I don't want to tell her how I feel because we have this responsibility to be like strong. So then she's not going to think I'm like macho anymore, or, the man anymore. But really, like vulnerability is what's going to separate the guys today. It's just sharing who you are without being a puss.
Um, it is easier to be vulnerable with strangers. That's why there's therapists. That's why people, not all people love therapists, but I've been in therapy before, and it's just talk to a stranger. Like I would rather talk to a therapist than my mom or my dad.
Yeah,
Like it's just I don't know. It's not awkward. It's just like more comfortable. Hey, this is my problems. Help me out, dude.
yeah. But it's almost sad to me, like as a casino dealer, that and the hotel and my other jobs, like I would have these husbands that were there to release their, you know, either anger or loneliness or whatever it may be, um, telling me their woes when really that person that they love and trust the most or at home should be hearing those woes, because that's the only way you're going to work through your things. But there was this like feeling that they would look, less, or they didn't belong, and the family, things like that. But yeah, so I think relationships are tough.
Relationships are tough.
Yeah. Do you believe in like guys and girls can be friends?
After or before a breakup?
Hmm. Let's say you start dating a girl today and you've been friends with somebody for 6 years. You think that's acceptable?
Yeah, I do.
Would you? What if that guy buys that girl a gift and they're friends? That's okay.
For her birthday,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Just depend on what the gift would be.
Depends if it was brought to a party or no. I wouldn't want like her be like, oh, let me go have lunch with my guy friend. I mean, if there was like a group of us or like there's a friend group, that's different. Same thing with a girl. I would hope that she wouldn't want a guy going out to, so it's vice versa. But I think a guy in a relationship can have girlfriends, and a girl with a guy in a relationship can have guy friends. It's all about trust and honesty. Like, hey, this when you first start dating, hey, these are the important people in my life, and they're my friends. So if you have a problem with that, then like I'm not just gonna get rid of them for you. So if you bring that up in like right away, I don't think it should be an issue because you don't have anything to hide.
Hmm. What if you don't like her girlfriends?
I've I've dealt with that. You don't really have a choice. It seems like girls put the girlfriends first.
Hmm. What if you don't like their
A
family?
little sarcasm in that, but yeah.
Yeah. So what if you don't like the family? Because that family pretty much becomes your family.
Um, I don't think I've ever not liked like one of my girlfriend's family members. It's not. What I mean, what you don't like them or they don't like you, then what?
Yeah.
Like, don't go to like Christmas or anything together.
Are you ready for a weird question?
Let me hear it.
So do you feel like if you're with a girl and she doesn't get wet, it has to do with you, or there's something going on in her mind, or vice versa? Do you get do you get upset, or does the girl get upset if a guy doesn't reach his full capacity and she thinks it's because of her? It isn't necessarily because of her. There's usually something going on in the head at that point.
Um,
Because
wow.
today, like our age, younger and younger kids today are taking like pills for that stuff. We didn't do
Yeah,
any.
that's
We didn't have
insane.
any of that
And
stuff.
it's being promoted like Blue Chews being
Yeah,
promoted like by young people.
I mean it's pretty much because of porn, because we never had porn
Yeah,
like available, so it's harder to get excited because you're watching that shit all the time. Not just I don't mean you, I mean
yeah.
people. But so girls and guys, I think take it very personal if like they can't make that stuff happen. They think it's about that. Just curious.
Wow, this is deep. Um, I I mean, I've heard that some girls can't get aroused like fully, like something about medical, right? Like there's medical shit that goes on, but like Wow. So, so when I so when I first started dating my ex, I I like I couldn't like finish at first,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "There's nothing." She's like, "What's wrong with me?" That's like she took it personal. And I was like, "There's nothing like wrong with you. Me personally, like I've been through one night stands and I've done that. So like I'm past that stage in my life. So now I'm looking for a connection, and in order for me to have like that connection or in order to finish, like I need there to be love. Like that probably sounds like a little corny and stuff, but yeah, that's happened to me. And she's like, "What's wrong with me? You don't love me?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
And sometimes, like, I've known people and talked to people about this, and the guy would be like, I couldn't finish because I liked the girl too much. It was the complete opposite. Like,
yeah.
it's like I could be with a stranger and just, bang it out. But like I really like this girl, so now I like want it to be special or whatever, make it happen, and it's just not.
So when I broke up with my ex, we split up, and like literally, I went out to the bars, and I met this girl like 3 days later, and she's like, "Do you want to like?" We were drunk, and she's like, "Let's go back to my place," and I just couldn't. Like, she was she was attractive. But I was like, I can't. Like, I still loved my ex, and I was like, from that moment, I realized that sex is not love. Like a lot of people will think of like, oh, we had sex and we fell in love. No, sex is not love. Like it's hard to describe how I think of it, but yeah.
Yeah, so I feel the same way. Everything's emotional. Some people, oh, there's a word called like demisexual, sapiosexual. It's all that stuff like connects to the brain. Like you're
Hmm.
connected to somebody. Like that's what turns you on is like the mental thing and the bonding of somebody more so than the physical,
Yeah.
attraction, which needs to come, of course. But so you know, all of that emotion leads for a girl, especially for the estrogen to work.
Hmm.
So if they're not feeling that emotional bond with a guy, externally and physically things just aren't going to happen.
Yeah.
So it isn't like they don't think you're hot or something. Like there's just something not connecting, for everything else to work and feel and all those
I
things.
didn't
Like
know
it's
that.
scientific, yeah. So it's like kind of cool stuff. Yeah. So and I think girls like sex more than guys now. I think for guys, don't get me wrong. This is a pure opinion, no science, no nothing. I think guys, it's almost like a control thing that like I got the girl and then it doesn't matter anymore. And for girls, they're like, why don't you want to have sex with me? Like you must not love me when it's the complete opposite. Like the guy is so attached to the girl that that's not even the necessary thing.
Yeah. So my ex, I used to work at a bar, and I would get off at like 3 a.m. and I'd come home, and she'd like want to have sex, and I'm like, it's 3 a.m. Like I'm going to bed, and she would get like she would get upset with me.
But do you think she really wanted sex, or do you think it was just about she thought you didn't love her if you wouldn't do that? Do you think she really wanted to have sex in that moment? Because
This wasn't every night either. I'm not that special.
I just think like girls can just it's a wrap. You can take care of yourself. Both any of us can.
Yeah,
So it's like I sometimes think like, is it a power struggle? I often wonder about that.
that's a good question. I never thought about that way.
Yeah.
Could have been a power thing,
Hmm.
just a reason to argue.
Yeah. Yeah, because girls do like to do that.
Like I'm just trying to go to bed. Like you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you looking for in your next girl?
Um, maybe not in my next girl, but like I just have standards. I want a girl who loves Jesus Christ, who doesn't go out to the bars every weekend, who has motivation and goals. I want a girl that has the same political views that I have. Um, well, she has to like country music.
Hmm.
Maybe a little college football in there. Yeah,
No. Do you think if you had all those things, like I don't know if you've ever heard read the book or heard about the love languages, right?
I have. Yeah.
Okay. I used to be all about the love languages until I started to like really look into it, and I realized I feel like we want what we don't have. So like if somebody's fulfilling me with gifts and appreciation, then I'm gonna be like, oh, I want physical touch. But if I got physical touch, then I'm gonna be like, why don't I get
Yeah.
things of appreciation? So I think sometimes we want to check all those boxes, but I think when it comes to love, like you can't overcome the feeling. I think I want this guy this way, this way, this way, this way, and if they don't have it, it's a wrap. And honestly, I've been through a lot, and I just think sometimes you just can't control it.
At all. You just has come naturally, like, you know.
Yeah.
That's like being American, like, oh, I the new 16 Pro is out. Let me go buy the new iPhone, but you don't really need it. You want it.
Yeah.
Kind of in the like for a relationship, you don't need him to like do X, Y, and Z. You just want that. So now you're gonna try, or him
Yeah.
or her, vice versa. Yeah.
All right. Do you have any questions for me?
No,
All right.
he was a podcaster.
Oh yeah. And we can go forever, but people get bored. We could do
People,
it again
we
another day.
another day, another time.
Another day.
All
All
right,
right.
guys.
Bye.
All right. Yeah, that was good. Oh, you had to turn them off. Did you turn them off?